Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing a review on the Empire Prophecy Z2 paintball loader from Empire. And we're just going to be starting with going over the key features of the hopper, then moving on to disassembly of it, replacing the batteries and general tasks that you might have to do with the hopper, and then move on into the pros and cons, and then end it with my personal opinion. To get this started, we're going to go ahead and start by weighing the Prophecy in, so to see what exactly our weights are for this particular hopper. Today we have our scale, which we'll be using. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on, make sure it zeroes out here. Go ahead and show that the loader is on, as you can see. So there are batteries in it, and we have the original lid on it. We're going to go ahead and load it in, or load it up here. And we are coming out to 1 pound, 2.9 ounces, so an average of 1 pound, 3 ounces basically, for the Empire Prophecy Z2, and that is with the batteries in it. As you can see, the scale does cross out. Go ahead and set that to the side, bring our mat back in, and go over the general, I guess you could say, description of this loader. The Empire Prophecy is Empire's top-of-the-line loader, and it retails for $179.99. Just to go over some of the key features, has a very nice magnetic lid system on it, so it's very easy to open and shut, and it stays shut fairly well. However, I've had a couple of times where it's popped open if you brutally, force it or anything like that. Very, very limited, but it's just a really, really nice design as far as the lid goes. As far as the opening, it's very large. If you take a standard pod here, the whole pod can actually fit inside. Just an example there. So, very large opening for pods, very easy to refill. Simple on-off design by just simply flipping this switch. Works fairly decent. Advanced buttons right here, or a reverse button here on what would be your right, and then an advanced button on the left if you get a jam or anything like that. Also incorporates the old school design of a rip drive, excuse me. This allows you to advance the hopper or load balls into the feed stack if your batteries go dead. Allows you to do that manually, or reverse a very bad jam or something that you can't reverse with the buttons. You can manually force it to reverse and then feed again to clear up all those really bad jams. However, that's very unlikely. As far as aesthetics go, it's a very nice slim design. Comes down a little bit larger in the back than some of the other hoppers as far as it goes, but it starts very narrow in the front and then moves into kind of a little bit of a bowed out shape. If you look from the top here, hopefully you guys can see this, it actually starts a lot thinner on the top and then gets wider toward the base, and that's where your drive cone system is. To get to the batteries and such, as far as disassembling the Prophecy, it's a pretty simple task. There's a button on the bottom here and a button on the top, and you simply squeeze those in and then pull your drive cone off. Pretty simple design. Then to get to your batteries, you can get to your batteries by simply undoing this front tray, or this feed tray here. To do that, you simply press in on the nose and pop it up, and then you can squeeze in on the sides. There are two little tabs on each side here that you can squeeze in and then pull your tray off. Here's your batteries. It does run off of 4 AA batteries, as you can see in this battery harness. To get the rest of the way off, you need to open up your lid, or actually we'll go ahead and open it like that, and then there are 2 buttons on the bottom here. You squeeze those together and then actually pull the shell apart. Now before you can do that, obviously I kind of forgot here, you have to remove the back plate, which is a push button on the bottom here or a push portion on the bottom here that you push in and pull up, and then you can pull that back plate off. Fairly simple. Then you can pull your 2 halves of the shell apart pretty simply, left half and then the right half, or backwards, depending on which way you're looking at it. Then once you've done that, you're actually into the drive cone area and all that stuff. You have your drive wheel here, freeway anti-jam, which is, I believe this is removable. Yes, it is, but we're going to go ahead and leave it for now because there's no reason to get into that. Your motor is up here, as well as your board and stuff underneath. And that's pretty much all you need to ever do. You can clean it out or however you need to with that. As you can see here, the lid does incorporate a spring, which I hope I did not lose. No, the spring is a little bit of a pain. Sometimes it can fall out of here, so be very careful not to lose that. But this is held in by magnets. As you can see, this magnet comes out and it holds your speed feed lid or your speed feed or your lid up, so that whenever it's coming up all the way, then it latches into place and isn't going to fall back down on you. So that's pretty much it to the disassembly. As you can see, it's fairly simple. However, it can be a little bit tricky to put back together, which we're going to go ahead and try and show now. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and slide our 2 halves of the body on. Easiest way to do this is to, actually we'll go ahead and remove the battery tray, or the battery pack. To do that, you're going to go ahead and just slide the bottom half into the side, and that kind of just goes in pretty standard. It should line up pretty much right away. Just try to keep it as level as possible on the bottom here, and your button should click into place just like that. It's pretty simple. It's hard to explain, honestly. You got to make sure your lid is removed to put the second half off. Again, just pretty much press the bottom of it up against the tray, push your button in, and then slide it into place. And it should go together. Fairly simple. If you just need to just shift the plates a little bit and you can get it put back together pretty simply. The next thing is installing your lid, which with this magnet can be a little bit of a pain. It likes to stick to the lid, so you take that magnet off, make sure it's the correct polarity, and go ahead and slide it into the slot that's in between the 2 shells. So to find the correct polarity, it should be located like this if you connect it to the lid. So just pull it off straight from that and then stick it into your shell. And as I said, this can be a very big pain. One of the reasons I'm not a big fan of the Prophecy. As you can see, it pulled out my spring here. So give me 1 second to replace that. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and try this again. I'm going to go ahead and slide it in, making sure it's the correct way, because nothing sucks worse than to try to put it together and it's not correct and have to take it all back apart. So that goes ahead and slides in just like that. Now to put your speed feed or your lid back in, you simply put the first, the long portion of the, I guess you could say, the rod here into the left half of the shell, and then slide this in. You want to make sure your shell doesn't come too far apart, otherwise your magnets will come out of place. And when you do this, you want to make sure you get the spring behind the lid at the same time. So the best way to do this is to go ahead and kind of hook it underneath the spring, and I'm kind of blocking that with my view here. You're going to take the lid, hook it underneath the spring, load it in like that, and then your 2 halves of the shell go back together. Then you can go ahead and shut it, and it keeps everything in place. So that's a little bit of a pain, honestly. It's not as easy as I'd like it to be, but you don't have to do that unless you're just cleaning the inside of your hopper. Go ahead and put your battery pack back on, excuse me. Go ahead and load it up into the tray area for the battery pack. Then go ahead and insert your tray. Pretty simple process. Again, just squeeze those tabs and push it over the top, and then go ahead and put the front one back on. Go ahead and slide your front cone on. As you can see, slides on perfectly. And again, to replace your back cap, you just simply push the top into the shell and then make sure it's all the way, and then kind of squeeze it together. So just make sure everything lines up, and you should be good to go. And you've got that replaced. Now, as you can see, that takes a little bit of time, so it's not the highlight of the feature, but it is fairly simple to take apart. No screws or tools required to disassemble it. Okay, now going over the pros and cons of the hopper. As far as use have gone, I have used the Prophecy for, I believe, 4 to 5 weekends now. Pretty continuous play, as well as shooting videos and stuff like that. So I've used it quite a bit, and I think I can give it my honest opinion on the hopper itself, just going over what I've had experiences with it and such. And we will try to limit the comparisons to other hoppers till the comparison video, but I might have to make a couple of references here and there. As far as functionality and looks, I guess you could say, it looks great. It looks like a nice hopper. Simple design. There's not very many color choices. I think black, white, and camo are the only current color options for the Z2, which is a little bit of a downfall because, you know, a lot of people like customization. If you're not too big on that, that's fine. I mean, you can obviously the black looks very nice. It's a very sleek design in the front here. Not very many sharp edges or flat edges. A lot of it's rounded, and so you can actually get bounces every now and then. Obviously, it's a very rare occurrence, but you can get bounces and glances off the shell. Not too big of a deal. The lid system is definitely a pro in my opinion. Probably one of the best lid systems on the market. However, Like I stated, I've had a problem with it popping open on me sometimes, and that can be a bit disappointing if you're diving into the snake, pops open, lose all your paint. That's a big downfall of me. So, I mean, as far as the functionality, it works great. However, you do have that slight chance of losing your paint and popping the lid open. If you're using a speed feed, you won't have near that amount of problem with it, most generally at least, and, you know, most of us use speed feeds anyways. The button is very nice, okay? The way of turning it on is just a simple switch. The push buttons are very nice as well. The only problem I found with this is if you're wearing gloves, this is almost impossible to get to. I wear gloves most of the time, and I cannot turn my hopper on and off, which is a big letdown in my opinion, because a push button is so much easier to operate and stuff like that, and you don't have to worry about it. This, you know, it can be annoying because you have to take your glove off to turn it off or on or anything like that, and it's one of those little things that really nitpicks at you throughout the whole day you're playing with it. So kind of a con in my opinion on that. Disassembly, this is one place I have to compare it to other hoppers. The Virtue Spire, the Die Rotor, all those completely blow the Prophecy away as far as disassembling. It's just, they're so much easier. You don't have to worry about things misaligning. You don't have to worry about the lid systems, stuff like that. As far as if you're taking it apart, you know, the lid coming out or losing magnets or anything like that. That's a big thing to me, at least disassembly is. And it just, you know, overall. Now, as far as cleaning this, you don't really need to do that much. You can take this front nose cone off and you can clean pretty much everything, or open your lid and get in there. And it's pretty simple. But just the disassembly, it's there, but it's not there as high a quality as some of the others go. When it comes to use, like I said, I've had zero problems with this. The one little thing that kind of bugged me when I used it is a lot of times if it picks up a sound or something, or it like advances trying to feed more balls into the stack, it'll spin past the paint that's already in there. And especially if you're pointed down, your gun's pointed down or anything like that, it spins and makes a lot of noise, and you can't really stop that unless you fire a couple of shots. And that, for me, would be a huge downfall in Woods Ball, especially. But even on the speedball field, you don't want that sound running constantly. It's just showing that you're kind of malfunctioning, you know. And that's one thing, the only minor defect, I guess you could say, I've had with it. However, it's not been that bad, and I've only had it happen 2 or 3 times. So it's not too big of a deal, but it is one of those things. That was pretty much the only downfall that I found when using it. So overall, the Prophecy is a great hopper, okay? I'm not going to lie. The Z2 works great. It works, I mean, fantastic. I've never had it jam in the little time that I have owned it here. Never had it jam, never had it even come close to jamming. It's always kept up with my markers, and it works great. It's just lacking in features, in my opinion. It's kind of got the idea of the feature, but it doesn't have the ease of use as some of the others do. And that's really, to be honest, my only downfall from the Prophecy. The key main, I guess you could say, overall opinion on it as far as a score would go, the Prophecy itself is an 8.5. To 9 out of 10. I'd have to give it probably an 8.5, just for the fact that it's a little bit of a pain to disassemble. It does use 4 AA batteries, which isn't too big of a deal. The lid system works great, which isn't really a downfall, but the button, the on-off, is just a really big pain to me, especially. And it's just not quite what I was hoping it would be. But as far as performance goes, I have to give it a 10 out of 10. I've not had any kind of problems, or excuse me, a 9.5 out of 10, because I've not had any kind of problems with it. However, that spinning, fast spinning, kind of making a lot of noise there for that short time, can get a little bit annoying in my personal opinion. So, I think that covers everything. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. If you have any questions for me, please leave them in the comment box below, or check out my other videos. A lot of the questions I get asked are actually answered in some of my other videos, so just check them out. If you're interested in the Prophecy, go check out a couple of shooting videos I have, as well as the comparison video, which will be put up here very soon, and we can get those questions answered for you as soon as possible. Go check out my Facebook page at facebook.com/nice2me2, and you can always like that page to keep up to date with the channel. Hit subscribe, hit the like button, and I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. Have a nice day.